Award-winning futurist researcher, keynote speaker Nikolas Badminton joining us on Canada Now for his weekly visit. Nick, Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos says that humanity will move most industry into space and allow only a select few to remain on our planet, which will be turned into a natural resort with restricted access. What was your response to that?
So we have let's put some boundaries around this conversation. I mean, he said hundreds of years time, so that's the first important thing. What I think of it, I think it sounds like a technocratic, ultra wealthy person trying to create some kind of newsworthy thing or an idea that he's got. It's interesting, right? I mean, I actually went off and I watched the entire interview. And like, you know, he would see the future with like most of the people living in space stations. The Earth is a national park that we would visit. Most industry will be done out in space. Blue Origin, the company's working well, he founded, is building a road into space, right? And he's got his Earth Fund, he's got Blue Origin, he's got all of these, you know, and he sort of says, you know, these fantastical ideas do come true. And I guess I see the idea of space stations, you know, maybe we're going to move there because maybe the Earth is going to get into a bad situation. This is like, there's two science fiction movies that I refer to with this. One is Interstellar, right? They have to leave the Earth because you can't grow food there anymore. They move to this amazing, you know, circular place in the stars where everything is absolutely fantastic. No pain, no wealth, no nothing, just great living. And on the flip side, you've got Elysium, right? By Neil Blomkamp, that did like District 9, which is like you've got these ultra exclusive space colonies where, you know, if you can pay to play and you can get into, but all the poor people on Earth live in slums and literally are suffering, right? You know, what future is Bezos trying to predict or trying to sort of will into an existence? I'm not quite sure, Jeff, to be honest.
Well, he referred to Princeton physicist Gerard O'Neill, who proposed the concept of space habitats way back in 1976 as the source of inspiration for him. Do their visions differ?
Well, I don't know the original vision. I mean, science fiction writers and speculators, futurists, like people like myself, you can speculate on where we might be or how these configurations could work, but you kind of have to look at the whole picture, right? And this is what I'm writing about in my book, which is like, you know, what are the positives and what are the dystopian potential, right? Are we going to end up in a world of those that have and those that have not, which is a theme that we see playing through the annals of time. The original vision, I mean, these things are just visions and ideas. Now Bezos is like 3 steps closer to potentially making that happen. Could we generate energy in space and send it back down to Earth? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Could we actually sustain like millions of people living in space stations out in space? There's a lot of problems that need to be fixed, and you know, everything from mental health to physical health through to even building infrastructure, right, like that, right? There's no resources out in space. You have to land somewhere and dig for resources and build. How's all this going to happen? There's so many unanswered questions here. You know, by putting in hundreds of years' time, it sort of still makes it quite fantastical in science fiction, really, Jeff.
But do you think that Bezos is going to have a hand in all of this eventually happening?
Well, if you think about him, you know, if he lives a fantastic life, he's probably on the planet for another 50 years or something like that. If he lives a fantastic and very long life, is he going to have a role in it? I mean, you know, if he sets up his business to continually make money, and there's a succession plan and there are people that do think like that, then maybe. I mean, there's a billionaire founder of SoftBank in Japan, and he's got a 300-year strategy and plan for his business. So, you know, when you look to long-term planning, look to Asia. You know, the Chinese, Japanese, they think of businesses, you know, by, you know, 1,000+ years in sort of age, right? I mean, if you think about Amazon, what, 94, 95? yeah, still a lot of work to be done to really
Right.
create that longevity of that business, you know.
Well, yeah, and I've been asked that question quite often in job interviews. So, what's your 3 century plan? Sorry, I don't know.
Exactly, exactly.
What are you hearing about Amazon factory towns?
So so factory towns are not new ideas. What was it? Hershey, Pennsylvania was the factory
Hmm.
town built by Hershey. I mean, if you I did a lot of work with Microsoft, and if you go down to Bellevue, and it's pretty much like most of it is Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's other businesses, but those businesses serve Microsoft. Yes, sure, there's other tech businesses there, but there are hundreds of buildings, right? Factory towns, Amazon factory towns. Yeah, I mean, there's some signals that I'm following, which is like very wealthy people buying up a huge amount of land, and they'll be building their own cities. I think we spoke about Telosa a while ago, and then Bill Gates has bought a huge amount of land just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. Will there be a factory? Will there be a factory town or a town that's 100% just Amazon? Yeah, potentially, but they have to find somewhere where the taxes are good, right?
Yeah.
But like will it exist? Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's been done in a lot of different places. I think if you look at all these big companies like Apple and Google, whatever, they're all looking for their own place to live and their own place to stay. And actually, all of these places creating their own versions of reality within a place that they can own is potentially going to happen. I mean, it almost happened in Toronto, right? I
Mm.
mean, Google Sidewalk Labs, owned by Alphabet, part of the whole Google family, was going to build their own little waterfront development down there.
Yeah,
But
I came
really,
close. Yeah.
it was going to be their campus,
Yeah.
and sure, it's going to be open to the wider world. But really, in reality, I really think that it was going to be their campus, right? And as soon as they had some pushback, they're gone, and they'll find somewhere else. They'll probably buy some land and build their own city and
Mm.
do things their own way, set their own regulations, set their own laws.
Yeah.
And then it gets really interesting. We'll talk about this in the future.
Yeah.
They'll even build their out at sea and international water platforms where everyone will live and work and live seasteading. Jeff.
Wow, taking over the water as well.
Why
Land,
not? Why
land
not?
isn't
It
good
seems
enough.
sensible, right?
Land isn't good enough. We got to take over the water as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah.
Will there in talking about the possibility of more people in space than on Earth eventually, and staying with eventually, will there eventually be too many people on Earth?
I mean, if you look at sort of some of the ideas about how many people are going to be on Earth by like 2050, 2100, we're looking at about 10 to 11 billion people, right? I mean, we can probably grow a lot more than that before we're really struggling. There's lots of space around us in many places. If you look at some of the megacities that are going to be exploding in growth, places like Kolkata, places like Mumbai, the largest city in the world by 2050 will be Lagos, Nigeria. And some people are saying that that's going to be like 55 million people. By 2100, it will be 88 million people. I
Mm.
mean, humanity finds a way to survive and to come together. And the dynamics in places that big are going to get super interesting, to be honest, Jeff.
Well, if it gets a little crowded, you can bunker with me. I'm fine with that. All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll make a sitcom out of it. Check out NikolasBadminton.com, futurist researcher and keynote speaker. Nikolas Badminton, always a pleasure, man. We'll talk again.
I'll see you soon, Jeff.
All right. Looking forward to it, pal. Thank you.